Hey, good morning, everybody. John here at Havoc Maker Studio. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I know I did. I was at ReaperCon and up here in Dallas, Texas, and it was a pretty much a great event. It was a spur of the moment. I originally wasn't going to go, and then I saw that it was up and going. Some people were coming up from Houston that I knew. There's people from out of state that were actually coming. So I was like, you know what? Why the heck not? We're going to ReaperCon. I'm going to do a review video of ReaperCon, my experience, since this is my first dive into it, and my likes, my dislikes, and what I would recommend to everybody else to do for next year's ReaperCon if you intend to go. But we're not going to talk about that right now. That's a lot of video that I need to do. I need to find some more images. So we'll get to that a little later. And in that video, which should come out later on this afternoon, as long as everything works out right, I'm going to be announcing this quarter's, not only this quarter's giveaway, but a special September giveaway, and it's only lasts until September. So we'll talk about that in that video later on today. Right now, let's talk about the Sentinels Mark IV and the Prime Sentinel coming from Marvel Crisis Protocol. And we're going to compare at least the Mark IV to my prediction video that I had recently of what I thought the Sentinel Mark IVs would have. I did not do a video on the Prime Sentinel. I changed my mind. I figured that there would not be that much difference outside of maybe one extra ability and or an affiliate, and of course the affiliation leadership ability. So I didn't expect too much difference out of it, and looks like we were right. Right now, let's dive right into the card for the Mark IV. So looking at the Sentinel Mark IV, we're looking at its defenses. We're going to go left to right, top to bottom. So we got a 3 physical defense and then a 4 for both mystic and energy. Makes sense. I figured we would have it a 4 across the board if I remember correctly on my prediction. But hey, I'll take this. We got a 7 health. Okay, that's actually not too bad. Not too bad. It's got a 6 on its days side, so 13 total. Cool. 4 threat. I think we were looking around a 4 or 5 threat. Size 5. I'm pretty sure I got this one wrong. I think I put them at size 4, and I gave them a medium movement, but they've got a short movement. And I should have thought about that with them being on that larger base. That gives them, in a way, a little extra movement if you take some certain things into consideration. So I know I got that one wrong. So let's take a look at their attacks. First up is an energy attack, the Plasma Bolt. Now this is range 3. It is 4 dice and it's a 0 cost. It's a pretty weak ability, but a weak attack, but it's got an extra ability added onto it that I think this is the second time we've seen this recently. So this might be a setup for a couple future models. So after the attack is resolved, the character gains power equal to the damage dealt. Always cool. Not that great with 4 dice though. However, when this attack is chosen during the pay the power cost of the attack, which normally you wouldn't because it's a 0 cost, but in this case, you can spend up to 3 power. And you get to add 1 extra attack dice for each power spent. So you can get this very basic attack up to 7 dice. That's not too bad. That could be a good way to generate power. But you're spending power to generate power, but you're also trying to do damage. So I think it's actually fairly good, especially considering it doesn't have a lot of other attacks. Then we have the suppression protocols. Now, suppression protocols is range 3, it's 8 dice, and it's going to cost you 3 power. If you get a wild symbol after the attack is resolved, for each wild symbol in the attack roll, the defending character gains 1 of the following special conditions: incinerate, shock, or slow. Cool. I think I might have gone for stun. I think that was the one I had used in my prediction. I hadn't considered shock, slow, or incinerate. I was actually pulling it straight from the comic books. But you know what? I think we're still on. I think that's close enough. We'll take a look at that in a moment. Then we have the restraint cables. Now, the restraint cables is a superpower. It's going to cost you 2, which is very inexpensive because you get to choose a target character within range 4 and line of sight, and you push them range S towards the Sentinel. Okay, that's not too bad. That's good, especially when you consider they might just be outside of range, since most of your or all of your attacks are range 3. Just bringing them short range is enough to get them inside of range 3. So that's not too bad. That's a really cool combo there, and you don't see that all too often. Now we have 5 innate abilities. So the first one is Master Mold. So when you're building a roster or a squad, you can include 2 of this character instead of the normal 1, which makes sense since you only have technically, if you count the Sentinel, the Prime Sentinel, and Cassandra Nova, you only have 3 members of the affiliation to build a squad on, which is not a lot. And seeing how the Sentinels run around basically in larger numbers, this makes sense on multiple levels. Then we have the power matrix. So at the end of this character's activation, it gains 2 power. Always cool. That's really good. He's got 2 ways to generate a lot of power. You're going to be getting basically 3 power per turn. 1 at the beginning, 2 at the end, and potentially more with the plasma bolts. So this is a good option, especially when you look at the power matrix and you're looking at that 2 power. Yeah, you're getting it on the back end, but that next activation phase, you can do your movement. If you think about this, you do your short range movement. Targets are still out of range. You pop off that, use that 2 power that you just spent or that you just got, and use restraint cables, pull a scorpion and get over here with an enemy character, and then you are popping off plasma bolt, or maybe you're juicing it up, that extra power that you gained at the beginning. Now you're doing 5 dice, potentially just getting that 1 back or maybe multiple back. This is actually pretty cool, especially when we take a look at a few other options that the Prime gives us. But let's keep going. So we have the Sentinel programming. The character cannot be advanced or pushed by mystic attacks. Makes sense. And when defending against mystic attacks, the character counts your wild symbols in the defense roll as 2 successes. So if you take that into account, that counts as 2 successes against mystic attacks. And then if you get your critical successes, you potentially have 2 there. So they're pretty much not going to be touched by mystic defenses. This is going to be I think a pretty good counter to the Convocation affiliate. I think it's Convocation and the Dark Dimension, and really anybody that's using a lot of mystic defenses. Then we get to the last 2. Well, really, I guess last 3 innate abilities. They have flight on a side with a short range movement. I never really can accept that, but whatever. Bleed and poison immunity, perfect, makes total perfect sense. Now, there is one difference, and I did not put this on here, and I'm going to, let me make, we'll pull this up here. On its damage side, it does drop down to 6 health. That's not too much of an issue, but its Plasma Blast transforms into the Plasma Leak. It becomes a range 2 instead of range 3, still 4 dice, 0 power. System Overloading. When rolling additional dice for the critical success results, this attack, you're going to roll 2 additional dice instead of 1 for each critical success in that attack roll, which is really awesome because now that means you don't have to pump power into it. I mean, you're already kind of screwed up, but you don't have to pump more power into it. And then System Critical, after the attack is resolved, this character suffers 1 damage for each critical success in the attack roll. So it is potentially deadly, especially considering this is your only attack. If you are, I mean, everything's going to be situational, ladies and gentlemen, but how you are going to be spending your power, how you're going to be doing your attacks in this mode, because you could potentially destroy yourself at the end or KO yourself at the end. I really don't know how this is going to work out, but Plasma Leak better be really worth it for you to be using that. Because you're potentially, like I said, you're potentially going to be losing yourself, your own character. They're going to KO. So if you're going to KO an enemy character or score those last objective points or something like that, I would risk the Plasma Leak. Other than that, at this point, I would consider just yanking people around with the suppression protocols or using them to block line of sight. I don't know. Really, it's a weird. It's kind of a weird downgrade. This is like one of the most severe downgrades I've ever seen for a character for Marvel Crisis Protocol. Usually, you have nothing that happens. I would say less than 10% of characters outside of their physical health going down, less than 10% of the 120 some odd characters that we have right now have something that downgrades that's so detrimental like what we're seeing here. Even the damaged power matrix goes down. But it makes sense for the character, especially when you get to run two of these guys on top of the Prime Sentinel and potentially Cassandra Nova. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. Let me know in the comments below. Let's take a look, though, at the Prime Sentinel. Sentinel Prime. So same stat line, except that they have they're 5 threat and they are now at 10 health, as opposed to the 7 health. And on their damage side, they are at 8 health. So 18 total versus the 13 for the Mark IVs, the standard Mark IVs. Not too bad. That's not too bad, especially when you're looking at a leader, the only leader for the Mutant Hunters affiliation. So, looking at the attacks, Plasma Blast Mark II, it's the same attack. We're just going to up the dice by 1. That's really the only thing that's the only difference. Suppression protocols, they go up by 1 dice as well, because these are all Mark II. This is just the souped up version of the Sentinels, the Mark IVs. So let's just dive right into the Mutant Hunters. This is your affiliation Sentinels ability. So when an enemy character is dazed, after the effect is resolved, choose a number of allied characters up to the dazed character's threat value. Each chosen character gains 1 power. A character cannot gain more than 1 power like this per turn. That's pretty awesome because there's no range restrictions, and the only thing you have to do is just daze people. And these guys could very easily daze characters starting probably round 2, especially if they focus their attacks, all their special abilities and whatnot. I think there's a lot of cool potential here. That's a very decent one because it's just giving power out. But you have to daze somebody, but you're going to be dazing characters. So at least I would say, with how fast games go, you're looking at 3 to 4 times per game that you're going to be dazing. I would say you're going to daze that many characters. So that's 3 to 4 extra power. And the Sentinels are not power hungry. I know Cassandra Nova is a little bit more power hungry. So getting that bonus bit of power is really nice. And this is before we look at adding anybody else into there, whether it's alongside Cassandra Nova or in place of Cassandra Nova. There might be other characters out there. And if you got it now that you're looking at these cards and you're going to be digging through later on today when you get home from work, that you're like, oh my gosh, I got a great idea. I wonder if this character, or this character are going to look really good with this group. Take a look at it. Put in the comments below who you think might be a good choice, and we're going to talk about that in a future video. So let's get right back into it. So restraint cables stays the same. We have a new ability called pattern analysis. Now the pattern analysis is, I think, pretty cool. It has an X power cost while this character or an allied character within range 4 is attacking or defending during the modified dice step of the attack. This character can spend up to 3 power to use the superpower, which is really cool. This is a reactive power. For each power spent, this character or the allied character may re-roll 1 dice. Considering the small dice pools that we have, this is actually, I think, a really good ability, especially when you have very small attack, when you have a very small attack dice pools, especially with the Mark IVs. You only have 4 dice for the basic attack. Be able to re-roll those dice is a great equalizer. In that case, maybe your Sentinels don't have enough power. They might only have that 1 extra power because they used the restraint cables at the beginning of the turn, their first action. Now they're going to attack. They might only have that 1 power that I was talking about before. So you're only getting to get 5 dice worth of attacks. But now your Sentinel Prime is essentially giving you that opportunity to re-roll any failures, which in a way is adding in an extra dice or more. So that's actually really cool. There's some good combinations that are starting to pop into my head. We still need to see what their team tactic cards are going to be, but we'll worry about that later. So power matrix stays the same. Sentinel programming stays the same. And of course, it has flight, immunity, and bleed. So nothing else has changed with the exception that when we get into the physical part or the damage side of the character, we already talked about it goes down in health. It does have one difference. It's the overloading power core. And when this character or an allied character, during the power phase, you're going to roll 5 dice. For each critical success or hit roll, this character gains 1 power. If at least 1 critical failure was rolled, this character suffers 1 power or 1 damage. So if at least 1 is rolled, you're going to suffer damage, but it's not saying, hey, if you roll 10 of them, you're going to take 10 damage. Nothing like that. So that's not too bad. You're going to get juiced up, which is really good with that. It kind of helps boost that pattern analysis. It's almost to the point where you kind of want him to get into the thick of it, especially having 8 health on its damage side or its day side. He can stay in the fight a little bit longer than most characters, and the fact that he's going to be able to generate a whole bunch of power, he can push that out into pattern analysis or his plasma blast. And keep in mind that his plasma blast does not suffer like the Mark IVs. So not too bad overall. The Sentinels are looking pretty prime to get on the table. I know that's bad. That's really bad. I don't do dad jokes too often. So let's take a look at my predictions. So let me get the character card up here, and then let's pull up. There we go. All right. So, sorry about that. Let's get that there. And let's take a look at my predictions. So I actually had mine reversed. I think this is actually an old image. I'm not going to pull it up, but I'm pretty sure I put a 4 across the board. Regardless, I'd say we're fairly you know what? We pretty much screwed this whole thing up. The only thing we got technically right was a 4 on the energy defense, but I would say we're pretty close statistic-wise. We're within 1 threat and 1 size range. We're within 1 of each of those. Not too bad. I'd say, like I said, we're fairly close. Not accurate, 100% accurate, but fairly close. Let's take a look at the. Let's take a look at their. There we go. Attacks. So I did have cables on there. So yay, restraint cables, but that was a power, not an attack. Energy blast. We've got it as power blast or plasma blast. Okay, we're wrong there. But I would say, I mean, when you look at this, we're in the ballpark. All right. I know I'm stretching a little bit, but we're not too far off. Some things we got wrong, or I got wrong, but I would say we're definitely in the ballpark. So when we look at the my original builder power as a physical attack for cables, we're off by 1 dice of damage, but we're getting the power equals to the damage dealt. We jump down to energy blast, which is the suppression protocols. I put stun, but they've got shock, slow, and incinerate. Like I said, I was basing that off of the comic books. I would still say we're in within the ballpark. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's not too bad. And the robot strength is wrong, but I would say we're close to the restraint cables because we are choosing a character within a certain range and moving them. Once again, I mean, trying to predict exactly what everything is not gonna, it's not easy. Learning program, roll 5 dice, character loses power. If no power, then damage. That pretty much off the mark on, but I got nothing to say about that one. That one I'm just wrong on. This is really sad. Oops. Let's take a look at the rest of these. So this is, man, I really got this all messed up. Search and destroy. We've got 2 power where I was predicting make an move followed by an attack action. Got that wrong. The armored chassis I got wrong. The one thing I definitely know 100% that I did get right out of this whole prediction is I got flight and immunity to poison and bleed. So yay, I got at least one thing right. But I would say I was fairly in the zone, in the ballpark of a lot of those ideas. But obviously, you can't predict exactly what they're going to do. When that day comes, I'm gonna submit my application. Go, look, guys, I know what you're doing. I know how you do it. I can predict it every time now. And then I'm gonna go work for Atomic Mass Games. But until then, I do have to take this as a loss. But I'm confident that I had the right idea. Anyways, you guys can call me out on my BS or say, yeah, you're close enough. So what do you guys think of the Sentinel Mark IVs and the Prime Sentinel? Are you excited about these models? And what do you think, or who do you think is going to be a good fit alongside these models whenever they do drop? Besides Cassandra Nova, I have not actually taken a look at Cassandra Nova now that these cards dropped today. I'm going to take a quick peek and kind of build up not only Cassandra Nova, but take a look at some of the other characters that I think might be of benefit to the Sentinels. Let me know what you guys think of not only what we saw today, but also who you guys might think is going to be a good fit for the Sentinels affiliation. All right, you guys have yourself a wonderful day. Look for the ReaperCon review video later on today. There's a possibility it could come out tomorrow, just because there's a lot of content that I've got to try to squeeze in. We might have to make it 2 videos, but if it's 2 videos or if it's just 1 video, regardless, I will be announcing the September contest and the quarterly giveaway contest. So you guys have yourself a wonderful day. I'm going to chat with you later.